Hi and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be fixing the error that we found in the last video. In order to do that, we're going to need to be able to see what caused the error. So what to do is to download the Heroku command line, which gives us access to a bunch of Heroku things, including the output of our application in the console. That output, we can hope, will have some information to help us troubleshoot this error. Also, if you can't troubleshoot a specific error, it will also help me help you if you put the Heroku logs out in the course Q&A if you have any problems. So to download the Heroku command line, just go to this URL, devcenter.heroku.com/articles/Heroku-command-line. And then it's very simple. For OS X, just download and run the OS X installer, and for Windows, the Windows installer. Once you've done that, it's really simple. Just go to your terminal. Make sure to quit your terminal entirely, exit the terminal, and then restart it again. So to reload all the changes that Heroku has made. And then we're going to do Heroku login. And this is going to prompt you for your Heroku email and your Heroku password. So type those in, and then you will be logged in to the Heroku command line interface. After that, once you've done that, do Heroku logs --app, and then we're going to put in the name of our app, which is Stores REST API, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and here we have the logs of our application. So as you can see, this stuff here was the starting up of the application. It says things like UWSGI is running in multiple interpreter mode, spawned master process, and then at the end it says state changed from starting to up. And that means that the application is now running. Then we did our request for the path of // we just accessed the home of the application, and I told you that this wasn't going to work because it's not meant to be a browser, blah blah blah. But really, the error was something different, as it seems from the logs. Apart from the fact that this path here doesn't return anything, that should have returned an error code 404, which is not found. But really what we saw coming back is an error 500. 500 means internal server error, and it means that the server couldn't tell us what was wrong, but something went wrong. So what we've got after that is exactly what went wrong. Normally in these tracebacks, it starts at the point where the error was returned to us. So it starts at the request dispatcher, and then it starts at try trigger before first request, and finally at the end here, it is our code, something that looks familiar, db.createAll. And if you remember, we've got this in our app.py, and what that does is that goes to the SQL Alchemy and creates all of the tables. But there was an error. Name error. The name db is not defined. So that's interesting because, well, why is it not defined? Okay, we know that it's not defined, so let's go into Atom and load up our app.py and see if we can identify why it may not be defined. Now, this is a really common error. Well, we've got all our imports up here. And then down here we've got our before first request decorator, which is the create tables method, which is what runs db.createAll. But here's the thing, where is db imported? Because it's certainly not here. And as you can see, db is imported down here. But db is imported inside this if statement. Do you remember what this if statement means? Or when this code is executed? I hope you did. This here runs when we directly execute app.py from using the Python command. So if we do Python app.py, __name __ of the file is main. And therefore, this runs here. We import the DB and then we run the app. However, when we run the app through UWSGI, UWSGI is loading the app variable and running it itself it is not running the app.py file. So therefore, this never runs. App.run doesn't run either, but UWSGI runs the app for us. But the problem is that we're not importing DB anymore, so when it comes to running this method here, it doesn't know that DB exists. So how do we fix this problem? You may be tempted to put this thing up here, but let me tell you, if you do that, bad things will happen because of something called circular imports. So if we put that up there, we'll get a big mess. So what we have to do is create a new file, which I'm going to call run.py, although really it's not going to run anything, but nevertheless, run.py. And what run.py is going to do is it's going to import app, and it's going to import DB. Now, at the end, all that we have to do is say db.init app. So essentially, it's doing exactly the same thing that we're doing down here, but it is not importing the resources themselves. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And now this run.py file also needs to contain the decorator, so that I'm going to cut that and put it in here, so that when we run this file, this decorator does get created and it has access to the DB variable as well. So I'm going to save both of these files, and there we are. Now, we also have to make sure to change the UWSGI reference. We no longer want to load up the apps app. Now we want to run run.py app, which is the same app, but if we load up the run.py decorator, that's going to execute this code here, but it's going to have access to the DB variable, which it didn't in app.py. Okay, so just make sure in your uwsgi.ini to change the module to be run:\app. And after that, let's go back to our terminal, and we're going to clear this, and we're going to do get status, add run.py, and commit everything. In order to commit everything, we can do git commit -a. So we're going to do -am to also type in a message, and we're going to say fixed not importing DB when running the app. And then we're going to push. Once that's pushed, we're going to go to Chrome, which is where we've got our API, and make sure to go ahead and press deploy. So I've already deployed, so I'm going to deploy again. And that is it deploying. Now, once that's deployed, we're going to go ahead and see if the output is any different. Notice that when we access the root, the home page of our app, we should expect a 404 not found, as opposed to a 500 internal server error. 404 not found is going to mean that there was no endpoint defined for that address. 500 internal server error means that something went wrong. So let's go ahead and view this. And there we go. So now we get a 404 not found. That means there wasn't an error. It's just that we didn't define a path for the / by itself. So what to do now is go over to Postman, change the URL to this new URL here, and try that everything works. So let's do that in the very next video. I'll see you there.